Okay, I think we'll get started. So again, good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us this morning for our kind of spring, early summer virtual Explore Day. My name is Caitlin Bassat, and I'm the Provincial Network Manager with Nature Kids BC, and I'm a third-generation European settler joining in this morning from Tk'emlúps to Secwepemc, also known as Kamloops, where the rivers meet, and it's on the traditional and unceded territory of the Secwepemc peoples. Before we begin, I'd like to emphasize how grateful we are to live, play, and carry out our work in British Columbia, which is Indigenous land. And there are over 200 First Nations communities in BC. And I invite you to take a moment this morning to reflect and think about the community that is connected to the land that you are on this morning. And again, a warm welcome to everyone for joining us this morning on your Saturday morning. In Kamloops today, it's cloudy. Maybe we'll get some rain. I'm curious what the weather's like where you are, so maybe pop that in the chat. If you have questions during the presentation, you can pop it into the chat and I will share those with Kate. And then we'll also have time for questions at the end as well. If you have your passport to nature this morning, just know that this morning counts as one adventure. So once you fill in all 6, you can mail it in to us or send us a photo and then we'll send you a prize. And I'm now very excited to introduce this morning's special guest, Kate Martin, the Lake Blitz Program Lead with Living Lakes Canada. Living Lakes Canada works to enhance the protection, the restoration, the rehabilitation, and the health of watersheds in BC and across Canada. They build capacity through community-based water monitoring to help address climate impacts. They promote and facilitate cross-sector collaboration and research to increase water literacy and support progressive decision-making for improved water stewardship. So I'm happy to welcome Kate.
Thank you, Caitlin. Appreciate the intro. Just gonna get started here. Share my screen now. Is that all right?
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, it looks good.
Great. Let me just set up my... Cool. Okay, so welcome everybody. I just want to start off by asking everyone, what is the coolest thing you've ever seen near or in a lake? You can take a second to think about it. It could have been an animal, a boat, or maybe even one of those big floating water parks that they have on Okanagan Lake. Those are pretty cool. I'll share mine. I think I got to see a white wolf one day across the shoreline, and it was probably one of the most magical things I've ever seen. So you can go ahead and share that in the chat. I'll look for what your answers are, but for now we'll move on. So Living Lakes Canada's water stewardship works takes place on many Indigenous territories across Canada. In the Canadian Columbia Basin, we acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Ktunaxa, Tl'aquetonné, Secwepemc, Syilx, and Syilx nations. My name is Katie Martin, and as Caitlin said, I am the National Lake Blitz Program Lead with Living Lakes Canada, and I am based out of Kimberley, BC. So Living Lakes Canada is an environmental nonprofit organization made up of people who care a lot about freshwater, like lakes, rivers, and wetlands. For over 20 years, we've worked with all kinds of communities to help keep water clean and healthy. Awesome. So today, we will solve mysteries using our senses, using what we see and hear to discover who lives in a lake and how to care for it. Lakes are complex, and you have to look at the whole picture when assessing its health. So we're going to talk about the different parts of a lake ecosystem. Just in case people aren't aware of what an ecosystem is, it is a community of interacting organisms and their environment. Living things interact with each other and also non-living things like soil, water, and air. Ecosystems often contain many living things and can be as small as your backyard or as large as the ocean. A lake ecosystem has many zones, just like neighborhoods in a town. They all work together to create a functioning community. And each neighborhood has a special job and is home to specific wildlife. So the neighborhoods we're talking about today will be the aquatic zone. This is the underwater world. So everything in the water is part of the aquatic zone. The riparian zone is the edge of the lake where the land meets the water, and it is full of life and many creatures rely on it. And the upland zone. So the upland zone is where the dry species live. It is beyond the riparian zone. So the aquatic zone is the lake itself. But because the lake would not survive without the other zones, we have to consider the whole community when thinking about the water. So does anybody have any ideas or what are some things that might live in the aquatic zone? You can put it in the chat or you can verbally say it as well, whatever you'd like. I'll wait for a couple answers here and then I'll move on. Fish, yes. That's a good one. Anyone else? Cool. So lakes provide shelter for wildlife. Fish, amphibians, aquatic insects, and microorganisms all live in different parts of the aquatic zone. It is home for aquatic vegetation like cattails, pondweed, and algae, and all that thrive here, and they support entire food chains. It is also spawning and nursery grounds. So many fish lay eggs in the shallow waters with aquatic plants. It acts as a food source. So the base of the food web, like algae and phytoplankton, are primary producers that feed the small invertebrate and zooplankton. These small organisms assist in keeping the water healthy. They also feed the higher life forms. So these smaller organisms then are eaten by the fish and the mammals. And yeah, I see a couple answers here. So we've got ducks, lilies, frogs. Those are all things that live in the aquatic zone. The aquatic zone also has a lot of environmental benefits. So water purification, aquatic plants and microorganisms filter pollutants and absorb excessive nutrients. Nutrients are bits of stuff like nitrogen and phosphorus that wash into the lake and help plants grow. But if there's too much nutrients, then algae can take over and it can negatively impact the water quality. There's decomposition and nutrient cycling. So dead plant and animal matter gets broken down and it releases nutrients for new growth. The aquatic zone also provides carbon and oxygen cycling. So aquatic zones play a huge role in capturing carbon dioxide and producing oxygen, especially through photosynthesis and by plants and algae. I just saw that Ava put something in here. So the water that we're talking about right now is fresh water, not salt water. And I've just got a couple photos here. And so I've got some pictures of things that might live in the lake and something you might see around the lake. So we've got some ducks, frogs, otters. We've got macrobenthic invertebrate. If anyone doesn't know, those are little invertebrate who start their life in the water, and as they grow up, they become flying insects. And they're a great way to measure the health of an ecosystem because they are very their whole life happens in the water and then they just become a whole new species almost and they grow up and they can fly. So if they aren't surviving, then we can tell that maybe something's wrong with the water. And if they're sticking around and there's lots of them, we can tell that it's more healthy. So we're going to listen to a sound. And in the chat, you can let me know what you think this animal might be. And if you need hints, I got hints too, but I'll give you a second first. Not a seal. Not an otter. Good guesses. I'll play it again. Yeah, so this is a loon. The whale of the loon is most commonly used for long distance communication between mated pairs of loons. They're black and white. They have kind of creepy red eyes, and they're great at diving. Okay, we've got another sound here. This one's a bit trickier. They love crayfish, they have whiskered faces and are playful, and someone did guess this in the chat. Yeah, this is an otter. Good job, Eva. So otters emit short chirps when they want to get attention from humans or other animals. That's pretty much them saying hello, and it's a pretty neat sound. So now we're going to talk about the riparian zone. The riparian zone is full of life and plays many important roles in the lake ecosystem. It forms the transition between the aquatic and the dry upland habitats known as terrestrial land, acting like nature's front door to the lake. So, just like the aquatic zone, it provides homes for animals, nesting grounds for birds and insects, and food sources for both land and water creatures. It helps keep the whole lake healthy. When we look at healthy riparian zones, we want to see lots and lots of different plants, grasses, shrubs, and trees all mixed together. Those plants act as buffers, catching anything that we don't want in our lakes. Does anyone know what kinds of things these plants might keep out of the water? Just wait a second and see if anybody has any guesses. Yeah, for sure. Keeps the water temperatures cool, provides some shade. So it also helps keep the water clean. So plants along the edge catch dirt and pollution and soak up extra nutrients before they reach the lake. So as we've learned, nutrients is good, but too much of it can have a negative impact on water health. The riparian zone holds together the shore. The roots weave together into the soil like nature's glue so that the bank doesn't wash away. Um, so for anyone who doesn't know, when the bank does get washed away, this process is called erosion. So erosion is when wind, water, or ice slowly wear away the soil and rocks and carry those tiny pieces into new places, kind of like when the rain washes the dirt down a hill into a stream. So these plants also help control floods. When it rains a lot, the plants act like sponges, soaking up extra water and slowing it down so it doesn't flood the area. So here are some photos of what a riparian zone looks like. So we've got lots of green shrubbery here. We've got rocks. We've got some algae up near the edge of the land right there. This is just a great place to live for a lot of animals because you've got food, you've got shelter, and you've got water. And it's gorgeous. I would live there. So we're going to listen to some more sounds. I'll play that one again. This one's a little tricky. So you can go ahead and put your guess in the chat. And I will give some hints for this one. It has 4 shiny wings, a long, slim body, and is often green or blue. Yeah, so it's a dragonfly. So dragonflies start their life underwater as nymphs, just like the macroinvertebrate. And they survive in water that's clean and healthy. So seeing a lot of dragonflies buzzing around means that your lake is probably doing well. So here's another sound. Any guesses for that one? I'll give you a hint. It's got bumpy, warty skin, and they're often out croaking at nighttime. Yeah, so this is a Canadian toad. Let's show a picture here. And they often call in the night to mate. So that was its mating call. Okay, so we're going to look up the hill for a minute. What does land up there have to do with the lake down here? Well, when we look at the health of a lake, we have to look at the whole watershed. A watershed is an area of land where the rain or snowmelt flow downhill, either on the surface or through the ground, into lakes, rivers, or streams. Because every drop carries whatever it picks up, how we use the land anywhere in the watershed directly affects the quality of water downstream. Just above the banks where the trees and bushes grow, you'll find the upland zone. This area can be full of forest, farms, development, roads, or even mines and logging areas. Every time it rains, that water and anything it picks up along the way travel downhill toward the lake. So rivers and streams are clear rushing paths that carry water straight into the lake. Runoff is rain that can't sink into the soil and rolls off of the road, fields, or roofs, sweeping up tiny bits of dirt, fertilizer, or oil. Groundwater is the water that slips through the cracks in the soil and travels underground and eventually bubbles back up in the lakes. So whatever happens upland, like factory spills, farm fertilizers, or oils, can hitch a ride down with the water and sneak into the lake. So that's why we need a healthy riparian zone between the land and the water. It's like nature's scrub brush that kind of traps the dirt, and it soaks up extra chemicals and stops the pollution before it reaches the lake. So I want everyone to think about what everyday things could end up in runoff. So some examples might be using fertilizer or maybe washing your bike with soap. If you want to give me some more, I'd love to hear what your opinions are. You can also let me know how you think we might help keep our water systems clean. Oh, can you guys not hear the sounds?
I heard the first two, but it looks like others it might just not be loading. So maybe if there's another one we can try, and if it's not working, we can
Yeah, we'll see.
troubleshoot it.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
sounds good. Yeah. Okay, cool. So things like soaps and suds from washing your bike, fertilizers from your plant food or from your lawn or garden, oil drips, car fluids, pet waste, trash, pesticides. Those are all things that can end up in our water systems. So ways that we can reduce that is by washing your bikes or cars in a controlled area like a car wash, using only a little bit of plant food or trying compost instead. Always pick up your pet waste. Don't just leave it. Never sweep or hose trash into storm drains. And then, yeah, plant flowers or bushes near the banks and rivers so that we can kind of stop erosion and stop the water from getting into our water systems. Okay, so we've got some more sounds here. Let's see if it works. Oh. Oh, I've just got some pictures as well of some things that might impact water systems. So we've got forestry areas, farms, mines, development right on the water there. All things to think about when we're looking at healthy ecosystems.
I heard like the first like 2 seconds of it and then the sound stopped. So it could just be the connection.
Okay, maybe I'll try one more time and see if
Yeah.
that one's a loud one, so everybody should be able to hear if it is working, but
Yeah, I could just hear like a couple noises, but that was it.
okay.
So
Okay.
maybe just give hints and we can just
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's guess this animal. So they have massive bodies. They live in the upland zone. They have big antlers, and they often travel alone. Yeah, moose. Good, great guess. So we've got mooses here. So the bull moose will grunt and bellow to find a female to mate with. Okay, I've got another sound, but I'll give some hints as well. So this animal is small and round. It's about the size of a golf ball, and its name comes from the song that it sings. Yeah, chickadee. Awesome. You guys are great at this. We got a cute little chickadee there. Good job. So chickadees sing to communicate and establish dominance within their social structures and territories. Okay, so we're going to play a little game now. So I'm going to have some animals on the screen, and you guys can let me know where you think that they would hang out. Some of them might have more than one home because they do move around, but we're just going to try and do our best at guessing. So this is a fish. So where do we think a fish would live? Yeah, so fish live in the aquatic zone. So he's going to go right over here. Next, we've got a deer. Awesome. Yep, the upland zone. And deer will come down and check out the water, but they mainly stay in the woodland areas. I've got a little beaver. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so the beaver mainly lives in the riparian zone. It spends a lot of time in the water, but it mainly in the riparian zone. We've got a frog. Yeah, so the frog hangs out in the riparian zone as well as the aquatic zone. It lays its eggs in the aquatic zone, but it does like to spend some time on land as well. Next, we've got a shrew. Shrew is a small little creature upland. Yeah. Yeah, so a shrew will hang out in the upland zone and the riparian zone. It likes to be near water and it likes to burrow and it likes the wet ground, but it also likes the forest and the trees, and so it moves around. Next, we've got a hare or a rabbit. Yeah, so the upland zone. Nice. Okay, and our final one are mussels. Yeah, good job. So mussels are aquatic. Great, good job, everybody. That was awesome. So let's discuss how to keep all of these neighborhoods safe and clean. When you visit your favorite lake, you can join a cleanup. There might be an event happening near you that often happens throughout the summer. Or with a parent or guardian supervision, you can grab a small trash bag and you can pick up the litter that you see along the shore. Every piece of garbage you collect helps keep the fish, frogs, waterfowl, all safe from harmful plastics and pollutants. Make sure to practice lake-friendly recreation. So that means observing wildlife from a distance, no chasing ducks or disturbing nests, so animals can go about their day undisturbed. Always follow the pack in, pack out rule. So if you bring a snack, water bottles, or gear, take all of your trash with you when you leave. And before you wade in, give your boots, nets, or any sort of gear that you have a quick rinse and brush to make sure that you're not carrying any tiny hitchhikers. This could be plants, snails, insects, maybe even some seeds from another water body to this one. That is a great way to prevent invasive species. So another exciting way that you can make a difference is through citizen science. Scientists can't be everywhere at once, so they rely on people like you to collect data on lake health. When you observe the lake, whether it's noting plant growth, snapping a photo of insects, you're contributing to valuable information. You don't need to know every species to start. You just have to record what you see, where you saw it, and take a clear photo. Over time, you'll learn more and more about about the lake and its life around you. And just for anyone who doesn't know, a steward is someone who cares and protects the land. So, that's what we do at Living Lakes is we put a lot of time and effort into making sure that our waters are safe and clean and healthy for not only people, but for wildlife and for the environment. So I want to talk to you about the National Lake Blitz. So we send scientists, citizen scientists, into the field equipped with simple guides. Your job is to identify plants and animals, just like we practice today, and take photographs and note any signs of pollution or habitat change. Those observations then get uploaded into our database and help researchers track trends in water quality, invasive species, and wildlife populations. By picking up trash, respecting wildlife, and preventing the spread of invasive species, and joining a citizen science effort like the Lake Blitz, you can become a lake steward. So if you're ready to be a lake detective for real, then you and your parental guardian can sign up today to help monitor lakes across Canada. You can join hundreds of people who care for freshwater ecosystems and make a difference. I just got Caitlin to link the Lake Blitz registration in the chat. You can also check out our website to learn more. But yeah, it's a great way to get involved and it's super simple. And I'm here for every step of the way to help support. We have a ton of resources. And yeah, it's just a great way to get outside and to learn more about lakes and the environment in general. Yeah. Oh, time for questions if anybody's got any questions.
Thanks, Katie, for that great presentation. Super fun trying to guess the animals and learning all about the different areas of a water body. Ava is curious if pieces of rock are important in a water ecosystem.
Here, one second. I'm going to stop my share so I can
Sounds good.
see everything going on. Yeah. Yeah. Ava, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, but rocks are important. They do provide habitat for a lot of animals. Um, if you ever lift up a rock, you can find a bunch of little creatures underneath the rocks. Um, lots of animals like to lay eggs on or around rocks. So yeah, they are quite important. Smaller rocks and pebbles can act as a bit of a filter or help with flooding. So yeah, if that answers your question, I would say yes. That's also why when we go to anywhere outside, especially water bodies, we always find cool rocks and sometimes we want to take them, and it's fine to take one or two, but we don't want to take a bunch of the environment away from its home. Um, so yeah. Oh, when pieces of rock end up. Um, I'm not totally sure what you mean by that question, but rocks are important. No matter where they are, they can act as a home or breeding grounds or whatnot. So yeah. Um, Oh, how goldfish get into lakes. That's a great question. So often goldfish, well, there's a couple of reasons. Some people release their fish into lakes thinking maybe that they're dead or that they need a bigger home, unaware of the types of home that they need to live in and that they could be invasive. Sometimes people have goldfish in ponds, and when flooding happens, it washes the goldfish from those ponds into new river systems or lakes. We see that happening a lot. So that's something to be cautious of when you have a backyard pond, is making sure that if there are heavy rains or yeah, just really big flooding happening, that we're aware that we're not letting those invasive species move into the natural habitats.
Yeah, I think I know about goldfish. I have a goldfish, and this goldfish is at least 10 years old. And it started out very, very small, and it's now very big. It's not in a pond, it's in a tank. But
Yeah.
yeah, so they're not an easy pet. They have to do
No.
lots to take care of them.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to know that.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're incredibly invasive. They
Yeah.
are, yeah, super resilient, and so they eat all of the food and they take up all the land, and yeah. It is quite a problem. Nicola Lake in around Merritt.
Yeah.
Um, it has a big goldfish problem because when those floods happened in 2021, I want to say, that's exactly what happened. It came through and it washed a bunch of pond water into the streams, and yeah, no, those fish are invading the lake. Just pretty crazy. Um, yeah, someone asked, what are lake animals that are not native to here? I mean, there are a ton. For one, goldfish. There are a ton of plants that we can talk about. So, like purple loosestrife, it's a gorgeous plant, and it kind of looks like fireweed, but it is incredibly invasive and it takes over. There is the blanking on names right now. Water milfoil. That one is an aquatic plant, and it's really hard to work with aquatic invasives because they're all over the bottom of the lake, and it's really hard for us to see them and to get to them. And it's not something that you can just pull out of the ground. And so that's something we want to try and keep out of our lakes. Zebra mussels are a big one. Those have made their way over from Ontario and I think are in around Manitoba. I don't know if they've made it into Alberta yet. But we need to do our best, and they travel on boats a lot of the time. So people move their boat from lake to lake, and they just cling on, and then as soon as they hit the water, they just start reproducing immediately, and they're really hard to deal with. Um, the government has spent millions, probably billions actually, of dollars trying to eradicate them from the Great Lakes, but super difficult. There's also different invasives, something that might be invasive in BC might not be invasive in Saskatchewan or Ontario or vice versa. So we do have to be careful about that because it's easy to transfer them between provinces, and same with state lines. So if something comes over from America that we might not supposed to be here, we got to be careful about that as well. Yeah, zebra mussels. Yeah, so yeah, through boats, maybe nets, fishing gear. Yeah, For things like plants, you really have to be careful about your boots, maybe your clothing. When I worked out in the bush, a lot of the time, like stick seed is an invasive plant, and it just like clings to any sort of fabric. It clings to pets. So you might not even know that your pet has seeds on it, and you might take them to a lake or to on a hike, and all of a sudden you've just spread an invasive species. It's pretty crazy. It happens really quick, and it's really hard to be aware of all the things that we need to be aware of. But if you practice like clean, drain, dry, so anything, if you bring a floaty or a boat, a paddle board, anything you're putting into the lake, make sure that you're following the proper procedure to prevent those invasive species from transferring into new water bodies. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Katie, for answering all those questions and for the lovely presentation this morning. We also have a freshwater toolkit at Nature Kids BC, so I'll share a link in the chat. And if you're wanting to learn how to go out and look at stream health, we've got lots of great resources there. And then I'll also be sending out an email to everyone that registered with the recording from today. So if you joined in late, not to worry, we'll have a recording up on YouTube soon. And then I'll also share the links that Katie shared with us about the Lake Blitz and how you can get involved and some other water resources as well. So thanks again to Katie with Living Lakes Canada and for everyone that joined here this morning. And we hope to see you at our next Virtual Explore Day. So enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thanks, everybody.